Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Laverne Board of Zoning Appeals, May the 30th at 5:30 p.m. We do have a quorum. If you would review the minutes from the March 28th regular meeting and review, and if any questions or comments, please let me know. If not, we'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
A motion accept.
I second.
We have a second. Those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Minutes carry. New business. Request for a variance to height restrictions in the Laverne zoning ordinance property located at 703 Walden Road, tax map 29, parcel 22.02, R3, high density residential zoning district, parcel owned by John M. Gillen Living Trust. Mr. Logan, give me your report, please.
Thanks. So this request is for a variance to the current height restriction for the R3 district that's listed in the zoning ordinance. And this property is at 703 Waldron Road or South Waldron Road. And the this property, as some of you all know, has already had a concept plan approved for a large subdivision. And then the front part of this acreage that touches Waldron Road would be for apartments. There's an apartment development as part of that concept plan that was approved. So that's the area that the applicant's requesting be that they get a variance for that area. So in this photo here, it's to the west or the left side in the image, and that's the approximate area where the apartments would be built. By the way, this does go now by Mission Hills, if I didn't mention that. So it was 703 Waldron for a long time, and now it's called Mission Hills. So this map gives you a little bit closer look of the area. It's about, the whole tract is about 120 acres, although the variance would just be for the apartment section. And then this is a zoning map, so green on that map is R3, which is high density residential. And of course the orange is R1, low density residential, and then to the north of the side is R2 at Woodland Hills, which is medium density residential. And this is a photo. Waldron Road is to the left in this photo, and then the wooded area to the right is the actual parcel. And there's another view there, the gate. It goes back into the tract. So currently in R3, the zoning ordinance allows 35 feet of height, but this applicant would like to go up to 48 feet in height. So the zoning ordinance that's under review that will likely be adopted later this year would allow exactly this situation that they're asking for, which is there'll be a cap on stories, which is 3 stories, but they can build up to 50 feet. So, one development might be able to do 3 stories at a different height, and then other developers might want a taller building, but 3 is the cap, or 50 feet, whichever comes first, for the new zoning. So it's not in effect currently, it's still 35 feet in R3 currently. And I think that covers everything. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thanks.
Do you have an applicant here? Stand up to the podium if you will, please, and raise your right hand, swear you in. Do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes.
Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Terry Rasmussen, 2000 Mallory Lane, Franklin, Tennessee.
Any questions from the board, from the applicant?
How far back into this development will these apartments go?
Total of 50, I think it's 23 acres, so the buildings do not go past what is the current existing pond. Some of the walking trails and things like that do go up around the pond, but the actual buildings themselves will sit just to the west of the pond.
Is that considered a wetland?
No, it's actually a stream is what it is. The beavers have dammed it up, and so we're going to restore it back to a stream.
Now, that pond, is that at the bottom of the hill?
Yes,
into the
yes, it's actually a low spot in the property.
Okay.
So I have a couple of questions. So the 35 feet, so the actual building or the rooms themselves meet that requirement? It's just the roof line that is,
So since this zoning is somewhat old and most of the other municipalities have kind of changed it, when you do even a 9-foot ceiling on 3 floors, that gets you to 30 feet because you got a 1-foot floor in between the ceiling and the floor above it. So you're at 30 already before you put a roof on it. If you were to do 8 feet, then you're at 9 with 3 floors is 27. By the time you put, a decent sized pitch other than 4 to 12 or 6 to 12 pitch, then you could meet the height requirement. But the problem that most people have today is the steam that builds up in the showers and things like that. You need a little bit more room for height within each apartment. And that's the reason we're asking, and that's the reason you're probably going to the new zoning or design standards, I should say.
Could they not put vents in the bathrooms?
They do, but it just still, obviously
Still
we
not
put it,
adequate.
it's just not adequate. There's not enough space between where the shower head is and the ceiling.
What kind of setback from the street are the apartments going to be?
Remind me, 35? No.
I'd have to look.
That's a good
It may be
question.
40.
I know there's 15-foot side yards, so there's 30 feet between building. I believe it's 30 feet, but whatever the zoning code requires us to be we're not changing that.
any other questions from the board members? With that, I'll accept the motion for or against the application.
Mr. Chairman, my issue here is that we're talking about a new zoning that's not been approved. It's likely to be approved, but we don't know. That stranger things that have happened. It's not what's in our code book, so I am struggling why we would approve this. It's not what's in our book today.
Should we defer?
Well, we have to move it, the application is in today, so it's either yay or nay. But that's your issue is obviously the applicant wants to get going with his,
Cannot be deferred.
so we want to move forward. Mr. Logan, any comments on the present zoning and the new zoning?
Well, I think I should mention architecturally, the building is going to look better if the height variance is allowed. And if you drive by on Old Nashville, you'll see, I'm just not a fan of that building architecturally. I don't think it looks great. I don't think it's gonna look that good at all. And I think it's the 35 feet that kept that building from looking better. And I think if I don't mention that tonight, I think that I'll regret that I didn't mention it, because there's something to be said for styling and architecture, and the architecture is gonna look better with a taller 3-story than making them squat and fat, which is why I think so many cities have adopted the 50 feet. So that's I'm not making a recommendation, but that's how I see it. Another example may be the avenues, on the avenue, it's lifestyle communities. Where the GOAT is in Murfreesboro, that is another example of a taller building that I can't imagine how they would look if they were squat and fat instead of them allowing them the extra height. That's just again, that's an architectural, viewpoint.
Thing I would like to mention, the biggest issue, even if you were to keep the ceiling heights inside 8 feet, which we wouldn't, but the pitch of the roof, we'd end up doing a 412 pitch, which means, for every, you'd go across for 1 foot, you'd raise 4, so you wouldn't see the roof. You would see a flat roof building with a real short, every balcony would be stacked on top of each other, and it just, to Bo's point, it would not look what we would want it to look like.
With that said, I make a motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second? With that, I'll make the second. Any more discussion before we vote? Because obviously, Charlie, you want to say something?
I don't feel comfortable voting yea on this based on the new zoning requirements that have not been voted on.
Okay. With that, then we'll go for a roll call vote. We'll start there then.
I approve, yes.
No,
Aye.
No.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, on to number 2. Is the request for variance of parking regulations, Laverne zoning ordinance, property located at 703 Walden Road, tax map 29, parcel 22.02, R3 High Density Residential Zoning District, parcel owned by John McGillan Living Trust. Mr. Logan, report please.
So this is the same area of town, same site. Excuse me, I'm trying to, now it's all upside down.
You get a view, rotate and slide over to the right there. Whenever you're on
You
rotate
can
view.
just click on it and click.
There you go.
That gets it there.
One time.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so it's the same site, 703 Walden Road, and the same pictures, of course. This variance is for the parking, and of course, there's a zoning map again. Same zoning, R3, high-density residential. So this is a chart, and this shows the parking. And the current zoning ordinance says that each dwelling unit must have 3 parking spaces. So if you have 100 apartment complex with 100 units, you'd have to have 300 spaces. And then for single family, it's the same, also 3 spaces. And the garage in single family will count toward one of those spaces. And that's the current ordinance. So this top, if you go to the top of this page, there's 113 one-bedroom units, 179 two-bedroom units, and there's only 32 three-bedroom units. So the total proposed is 324. Then that middle column, you see 333. So that's what I just mentioned, that it's the same no matter if it's single-family or multifamily. So the 3 times 113 would result in 339 parking spaces for all the one-bedroom units. Then the 179 for the two-bedroom units times 3 equals 537. And then 32 three-bedroom units times 3 is 96, 96 additional. So their total there, that 972, is if you take all the 324 and give them 3 parking spaces each, you get just shy of 1,000 spaces. The future zoning would show the parking standards as shown in the middle here. So for the 113, the new parking would be 1.5 spaces for a total of 170 parking spaces. Then the two-bedroom units times the 2.2 multiplier would equal 394. And then the three-bedroom units spaces actually goes up from 3 currently to 3.3 for 106. So the total spaces would be 669 instead of the 972. And the applicant, the bottom of the page, that chart shows that the applicant's asking for, of course, the bedroom counts are the same. And you see the 1.5 and the 2.2 and the 3.3 match the middle. So they're basically asking for what is being proposed in the new zoning ordinance, which would be in effect if it passes later this year. So roughly they're reducing the parking overall for the whole site by about a third, give or take about a third. And I think that covers it all, so I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Applicant here this evening, if you would, step up to the podium. Raise your right hand if you would. You want to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes.
Please take your name and address for the record, please.
Terry Rasmussen, 2000 Mallory Lane, Franklin, Tennessee.
Any comment on what Mr. Logan says in his report?
It's kind of the same thing as what we just spoke about. When the apartments were built 30 years ago and this zoning was in place, it was mostly 3 bedrooms. And now that's shifted away from 3 bedrooms to a lower bedroom count, overall lower number of people that's in it, therefore you need less parking. So again, we tried to just stick with what is going to be changed. We're not asking for anything more than that. And the reason why is because we really only have 10% 3 bedrooms. We don't have an enormous amount of 3 bedrooms where you'd have, you know, maybe a family in there. So, and it's again, what the zoning is moving towards, not just here, but in other places, and probably why you're looking at it.
Any question from the board members?
We have several houses in our neighborhood that people have 6 and 8 cars.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's a single-family home.
Correct.
But these being apartments, I can't see that wouldn't happen there as well.
I don't see
Would that
how.
provide an adequate for the overflow, or if they have guests or parties or something like that? Will this provide enough parking?
Our studies show it will. I mean, at the end of the day, you're not going to have everybody having the same number of people there at the same time. And therefore, your 1 bedrooms typically are going to have 1 or 2 people. They could have 2 cars, very possible. 2 bedrooms probably are only having 1 or 2 cars. So when you take that total average together, 1.5 and 2.2, obviously you're over 3. And then we went 3.5 or 3.3 for the 3 bedrooms. So I think from where you are in the old design standards to where you're going in the new design standards, I think per bedroom, we're actually a little bit higher.
Mr. Logan, just a comment back to our present rules. Have we had any issue with the apartments that we have? We have an issue. Is there too much parking? Is that such a word, or are we where we need to be with the present requirements?
I don't think, since I've started working, I've never heard, I haven't heard of a complaint that there's too little parking. Too much parking comes into conversations about, you know, green design and low impact design and environmental sensitivity. So clearly, less concrete means less stormwater runoff and that type of thing. Y'all follow where I'm going with that. It's more environmentally friendly to have less parking on everybody and on the city in general. But I hear those kinds of things, but you know, I don't really get a lot of calls about apartment parking as it is right now.
Other comments from the board? So it looks like the present zoning is 972, and they're going to 669 is the proposal. So just want to get people's comments. Anything else you want to say
I think
about
it has the possibility of being too restrictive if you have guests that come over. For the one, because I've been to places where, if it's a weekend and everyone's there and you go to see family, there's nowhere to park, or you have to walk halfway around the complex just to get to where you need to go.
Comments?
My issue is the same. We're voting on new zoning that's not been approved.
My question is there room for other parking?
There would be more room for more parking, as Bo said, though, then the open space shrinks. I mean, we're not asking for a change in the zoning. We're just asking for a change in design standards. So yes, I mean, the open space would shrink because we're not obligated to have that much open space. But again, I would like to reiterate that, you know, if you look at what this zoning design standard was passed on years ago, predominantly is 3 bedroom. So it made sense to have three spaces per bedroom. We actually are higher than that. If you just look at the number of bedrooms we have, we're above 3. So that's why we're asking.
So I'll go back to the other direction is if the board is leaning towards saying it's too little, I think it'd be fair to let the applicant know a number that we would accept if it is different from the present rules and regulations. That's my comment.
And I was actually doing the math before. I think we're more like 20%. I don't know exactly, but we're roughly 300 less on most of it. So it's probably, yeah, it's probably 28%. I didn't do the math, but somebody.
Any other comments? Because it's a difficult one, gentlemen, but that's what we're here to do, is to make some decisions. That's what we're here to do.
Could you make the parking around 800 spaces? Would that
I
be
couldn't,
doable?
without doing a design, I couldn't answer that question right now.
So what you were doing there, Charlie, is basically splitting between the 972 and the 669, is that what you're trying to do?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so. Yep.
I would think it maybe 700 would be adequate. That would give you extra for the extra parking in the event that they do have parties or something going on, or block party or whatever.
That's less than 10%.
So it's all not be an accurate number, let's be at least given a range, I think will be fair. Any comments on that? I understand your position. What's your, any thoughts?
I'm okay with it as is.
Okay. Okay. All right then, well it's an awkward one, so let's go ahead then. I'll accept a motion one way or the other to accept the variance request as submitted.
I second.
Well, you gonna make a motion?
I make a motion.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Okay.
Aye.
No,
No.
Aye or no? So you're
What was the question? I'm sorry.
so you voted for or against?
As it sits?
As it sits. So as the applicants put in, so the 669.
No.
Okay. With that, the motion fails. I think you've heard the comments.
Sure. Yep.
I think if you review, you've heard different numbers kicked out. If you could perhaps review that and then get back with Ms. Logan, we can go forward from there.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate it.
Thanks. With that, I'll call the meeting adjourned.